Steve Paul here with 668 Consulting Group, and really honored and privileged to have Adam Hermanson with me today. Adam Hermanson is the founder and principal at the Integration Design Group. And welcome, Adam.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity to chat.
You're welcome. I think the purpose of our chatting today is, the seriousness of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 situation that's going on. And it's been so amazing to me, Adam, to see so many business owners and what they're doing to shift and help make adjustments, because, our hearts go out to everyone.
Right.
I mean,
right.
People are dying, people are sick, they can't see their loved ones, people are financially stricken by this.
Yeah.
So honored to have you on to talk about this some. And go ahead and share with us just a little bit about Integration Design Group and some of the challenges that you're seeing right now.
Sure. Glad to do so. The challenges are all over the place, right? There's no shortage right now. It's on the personal level, on the family level, spiritual level, and then the business and the economy, which kind of is a factor in all of those things, right? The kind of work we do at Integration Design Group is really, we are an architecture firm doing master planning, interior design, architecture for institutional clients, mostly serving the church. The pinnacle of the work that we do involves sacred spaces. That's the reason that the rest of the church facilities are there, the places in which we come to worship. And so we are in this interesting market niche that is the sort of crossroads of community and civic life and people coming together, families coming together, watching families grow up in a church community, all the different needs that those families, those students, those parents, grandparents, the whole spectrum of the sort of experience of communal life is a part of the market niche that we serve as architects at Integration Design Group. We've been doing it for about 14 years, since 2006, went through the last recession, 2008, 2010, have been growing ever since. We're a firm of 10 right now, and really proud of the work that we've been able to do over the last dozen years or so coming out of the recession. Most of our work is in Colorado, but we've also worked in New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, North Dakota, doing some work in Wyoming now as well. So kind of a regional firm, which means a fair amount of windshield time for me as the principal. Our sort of business model is really based on having face-to-face communication with our customers, right, with our clients, working through design issues, asking those big picture questions about what if this was the right solution, or what if this was the right solution. It takes time, it takes interpersonal communication to do that successfully. And so now we've got challenges that we're trying to leverage technology to do what the human touch and human engagement was really designed to do. We can do a lot, but as you know, it only goes so far, right?
That is a really super important aspect of it, Adam. I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that, in order to really bring the human element and how it connects to the sacred, and meeting the customer's hopes for the space that you're designing, it really requires being there in place. And if you think about it, that's what, churches are your niche, and here they are unable to gather together right now. So it's kind of coming from two different directions here.
Yeah, it is. And in the first sort of economic slowdown measures and stay-at-home measures and work-from-home measures were starting to be rolled out, I wasn't real concerned. I was thinking, well, we're not doing a lot of restaurants, we're not doing retail, things that just are so driven by foot traffic in order to, have a revenue stream and plan for the future. And then it started to be assemblies. You can't assemble together. And then we started thinking, whoa, this is going to have a huge impact on our particular market. you know, people not tithing because they're not in church on Sunday. Um, I'm not really sure how our primary sort of customer client base that we partner with is going to sort of work their way out of this hole. I'm hopeful that folks like you and me, when we have a chance to go back to church and engage with our church families and our pastors, are going to be newly generous again. But you know, when you have 2 weeks and 10 million people filing for unemployment, uh, I don't think that it's going to be a quick rebound, if you will, or a quick upturn for our market. I think it's going to be a slow rebuild for folks gaining confidence enough to be generous with their church families again.
That's really something to think about, and and to pray about. Actually, I could see that people longing and yearning to be back in the pews and actually
Yeah,
doing that. But that's different from pulling out, the wallet if it's been a really tough road for them.
right, right. And so we're trying to reach out to pastors and building committees and business managers at our different churches that we work with and that we help. And it's not just churches, but really all the sort of nonprofit sector that rely on, all of our generosity to plan for the future and to improve their facilities and things like that. So we're trying to keep up those relationships, let them know that we're able to serve them, even if it's not on a full-blown proposal. How can we help them to even just think about taking the next step in the right way? It's going to be a little while till that gets traction, but just from a sort of running a business standpoint, that's my main task right now, is to just keep in touch, to reach out, to let people know we're thinking about them. We're keeping their business needs, their economic needs, their community needs in the forefront of our mind as well. I mean, that's our job as architects, is to inherit um, all of the sort of challenges and concerns and needs of our clients, and then come up with creative, inventive solutions of how to address those. It'll be interesting these next 6 months or more coming out of this.
Yes, interesting and much more. How are the calls being received in being proactive and reaching out to offer help and support?
Yeah, I think that it's a in a lot of ways it's a peer-to-peer conversation.
Hmm.
How are things with you? They're asking us the same question in return. How are things going for you, for your business, for your employees, for their families? Is everybody healthy? There's the first things first in a lot of these conversations. People are concerned about how people are doing in both directions. I'm reaching out to that pastor, that business manager, that executive director, that nonprofit, and asking how things are looking for them. Um, they know I'm calling them to say, is our project going forward? What do you think the second half of this year is going to bring? Is your big capital campaign going to go forward? And I'm also saying, is there anything we can do to help? But right now, everyone is just kind of swimming, right? All of these folks who are in leadership positions are trying to figure out what the next couple months look like, what their staffing looks like, what their payroll looks like, what paperwork they need for these SBA loan programs. So there's a lot of camaraderie in the outreach right now. Everybody sort of gets it that we're in a real similar boat. Um, and I think too, they appreciate the phone call. They don't like telling me like, hey, we got to stop the project, or we're going to have to cut back on some of our design services over the next 6 months. They don't like to have to convey that or communicate that in that phone call. But I'm calling to basically say, that's what I want to know, right? I need to know that as a
Sure,
business owner.
a-
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I'm hearing on one hand day to day, and on the other hand, I mean, there's things, if it's applying for an SBA loan, that sort of thing, that's got to happen now, and um, and it is hard to plan for, and uncertainty. Oh man, there's nothing worse than uncertainty, and knowing the answers helps.
yeah. When you come up with those answers, let me know, Steve.
Yeah,
Uncertainty is sort of the order of the day, right? I think what we learn in this time that we live in right now is things are a lot more uncertain than we think they are anyway, even in the normal times. Um, And as architects, we sort of live in this, we have to gain a comfort with ambiguity, right? We have to sort of play out these scenarios. What if we say that we're going to put the pin in the map right here? Then what are the opportunities that come from that? What are the things that are closed off? And so I think that my hope for our firm over the next month really is that we can really look inwardly and outwardly at the same time to say, how do we need to be a better design firm? What do we need to do in a more efficient, effective way, really more effective way? How can we take this time when things have slowed down to focus on ways that we can serve our clients better going forward, right? There's this opportunity, there's this window where things are a little quieter, a little slower. And so one of my jobs as a leader in our firm is to get people out of the sort of anxiety and the uncertainty and say, set that aside, kind of, it's not going to go away, but let's set it aside for today and come together and ask big questions about how we can do what we're called to do in a more effective way. And that's what I'm hoping that April looks like for us. March was sort of just, kind of tap dancing around everything, trying to figure out what's gonna shake out. What's the new restriction? Work from home, wear a mask, quarantine kind of orders. But now that we kind of know this new reality a little bit, we've kind of gotten our sea legs under us over the past 3 weeks. My task is really to think about our team in a way that is a blessing and a benefit to those that we serve, right? To our clients, to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is where leadership comes in, and this is where, every single situation, whether it's you with your architectural firm, whether it's one of your contractors that you're working with, whether it's your customer, there's a multitude of situations out there where the leaders have to really, this is essentially what you signed up for as the leader.
Right. Which I have to remind myself, as you're coming up in any enterprise, you're sort of looking at the person in the corner office, so to speak, thinking, man, I'd love that job. And then you get it.
Right.
You're like, wow, I guess no one else is going to make these decisions but me. And it is what I signed up for. And it is a burden, right? Those responsibilities are something that we shoulder and carry on behalf of the families that are behind every paycheck that we sign, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of that, I mean, how are your staff? How are they handling this? How are they doing with it?
I think they've been really resilient. They've been really nimble. It's been an interesting time because of the whole work shifting to the home front, and then you've got schooling on top of that. So the majority of folks in our firm have got kids at home, and so the idea of everybody working from home, including the school kids now, it's a real challenge. It's not an easy thing to sort of manage between two working parents, which are, I think, the majority in our firm. Two working parents with little kids. Some of those kids need to be online for a Zoom meeting with their fourth grade teacher at a given time. So who is kind of doing the homeschool while you're trying to get 80 hours of work between two working adults? So there's been a lot of, I heard somebody describe it just today as there's a lot of grace in the system right now, where people are willing to just kind of recognize that everyone is juggling, right? And if you need to step away from something to take care of something with your family, no matter who you are on the client side, as a employer, as an employee, everybody just sort of gets that we're all human and living human lives, right? So there's a little bit more grace in the system.
That's a great way to describe it, Adam. And one of the really fascinating and actually exciting things about these interviews that I've been conducting is that, there's that American spirit, there's that entrepreneurial spirit, but then even more so when the leadership comes in, and I see it everywhere where people are, bucking up here, and most leaders are doing the right thing, and then from there you see that our whole American spirit. I mean, it plays out with all of the staff, with your entire team, and it really is a good feeling when you see people pulling together, whether it's
Yeah.
seeing that hospital room on TV,
Right.
on the news, or these situations right here, because here we are at the micro, your
Yeah.
individual families that
Yeah.
need to keep carrying on, right?
Right. And I had employees call me, week one and say, "Hey, can we just chat?" I said, "What do you want to talk about?" They said, "I want you to know that I'm all in for our team.
Oh,
If
wow.
I need to take a pay cut or a shorter work week or whatever, count me in." I had three employees reach out to me first and say, um, "Just so you know, our family's in a good place. If we need to make some cutbacks, I'm ready for that. Let me know." You know.
Wow.
Um,
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What that speaks to me, it's the grace, and
mm.
it also tells me about the respect that they have for you, Adam.
Well, yeah, it's I'm grateful for that. Very grateful for that because a team doesn't work unless there's mutual respect, right? They know that I'm out there pounding the pavement, trying to win business because I want to keep providing jobs for them to do and good work that's rewarding, that helps them develop as professionals, that is for people who care about the work that we're doing for them. All those things is the work that I'm trying to bring into the firm, and they know that and they appreciate it because we try to be pretty transparent with our staff. We're a small firm. We all sit in the same room and all 10 of us drafting away, taking phone calls. We hear what everyone's dealing with on different projects, and we, you know, switch one hat out for another hat and then go help with that. So I think the respect is really mutual. And I think we're also pretty fortunate that we're a niche firm. We're not just chasing every project, but those people over the years, over the past, you know, 8 or 9 or 10 years have come on board for a reason because they believe in the work that we're doing. Um, Architects are sort of suckers for improving the world, right? That's what we all sort of went to design school for, and we get to do it in a particularly rich way. Dealing with churches who have really the absolute best motivations at heart and are trying to bring people into deeper relationship with God. And so it's not a surprise. I know these people. I love these people. I work with them every day, and I'm always grateful when, like you said, you kind of get a little snapshot, a window that there is that mutual respect there.
That's amazing. In a sense, in terms of architecture and what you're striving to achieve. I mean, it is almost like Brunelleschi coming and solving that century old problem, right?
Yeah, there. I say that we inherit other people's problems,
Uh-huh.
and if they didn't have problems, we'd be out of business. Um,
Wow.
those problems are growth, organizational change, the bad buildings that haven't weathered well, um, asbestos issues, accessibility. We have these facilities that are really blessings for our organizations, but they also can be obstacles and challenges sometimes. And so, as designers, we're going around trying to sniff out problems. Who has a problem that we can leverage our skills, our our blessings, our time, our expertise to improve those concerns. And sometimes I'll catch myself or an employee sort of grumbling a little bit about, "Oh, this is a complex issue. This is that." I said, if it wasn't, we'd be out of a job, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, I'm very hopeful that people will come back into the pews in throngs.
Me
And
too.
looking way ahead, do you see church design changing at all because of coronavirus?
It could, it could. I'm not haven't sort of posed that question to myself yet. Um, it would be interesting because the church sort of changes slowly, I mean all different kinds of churches, all different kinds of groups. Um, but I'm hopeful that this social distancing can come to an end and we can exchange a sign of peace again. Um, I'm hopeful that we can fill the church at Easter and not look at each other in a way that is sort of fearful, like, do you have the virus? Do you have the virus?
Oh my gosh.
I was talking to a pastor the other day that said the devil is, dancing right now because people are divided and isolated. You know, it's a good thing that we have all this technology. It's like the bells ringing in medieval times, calling people to remember to pray. And the pastors are using all this technology in really wonderful ways. But we're not designed to be isolated, even in our families. We have an outward sort of stance towards the world, and we engage and we embrace and those kind of things. So I'm hopeful that it doesn't take too long for us to be back in the pews, and for all of those people that we're working for to have their communities back together. And I'm hopeful that we can overcome what is kind of seeping in, when we do leave our houses, or kind of looking sideways at each other, like, are you a carrier? Am I okay to breathe around you? It's
Oh
a
man.
little scary set of questions for communion. I'm hoping we're not building giant churches because we all need to sit 6 feet apart,
Oh my gosh.
but
Well, you're really touching on these human issues,
yeah,
you know, and not only human, but our relationship with God and the supernatural. And I sure hope that in the various different ways that churches and parishes are able to reach out right now, virtually, that people who can are able to maybe help make up some of that difference, for
right.
those pastors and
Right.
parishes. So, Adam, this has been a very rich conversation. I could talk with you for another hour, and I'm sure people would love to hear what you have to say. I'm trying to keep this at a certain amount of time to make it so more people will jump on and
Sure.
listen. So if you'd go ahead and just tell us, if someone is interested in what you have to offer, how they could get a hold of you, and also just maybe a couple, one or two takeaways, advice, or hope for what's coming here.
Yeah, sure. Our website for our firm is integrationdesigngroup.com. We're located right in downtown Denver, and people should feel free to contact us. Pick up the phone and call us on extension number 1. Um, the advice or thoughts on kind of where we're at right now. I I'm I'm not Pollyannish on a bounce back kind of rebound, because I think it's going to take a while for people to come back into the workforce. Um, but I am fully confident that we're going to get back to normal in a way that's much faster than what we saw 10 years ago.
Mm. Mhm.
The issues here are not poor economics, right? I think our economy is actually very healthy, and I'm not an economist, but I deal with the reality of people's confidence every day, right? And so I'm hopeful about what the situation, the kind of the economy looks like 6 months from now. But I'm also trying to be conservative, because my conservative approach as a leader is really just kind of hedging in order to protect those who work for me, and that we can stay in business as a strong company to serve those that we're called to serve, right? And so I'm trying to be hopeful, but also careful. You know, for me, it comes down to really taking care of our team. That's what it comes down to, because we've got a group of 10 people who are really committed to our mission and are really good at what they do. So my great hope is that we can weather this downturn, and come out as a stronger firm. And I think that's probably everybody's hope right now. There's a lot of people just thinking about survival, you know, and I think that's right. But 10 years from now, we're going to be still asking the questions: what did we learn? How do we improve? How are we better at what we do because of that spring of 2020, when the world seemed to kind of fall apart for a couple months, you know?
Well, Adam, thank you very much for the good words, and for everybody listening or watching out there. I mean, Adam is just an amazing man, as you can see, amazing leader, and another example of true American entrepreneurial spirit and servant leadership, leadership built on a great foundation and faith. Adam, it's been wonderful. Thanks for taking the time. I know you got a lot on your plate. God bless.
Thanks so much, Steve. Great to be with you, and just best of luck to everybody listening. I'm grateful if anything that we offered today is helpful to you. So thanks, Steve.
All right, you're welcome. Cheers.
Thanks.